And then we'll welcome everyone again to Friday morning for another Connect and Share. This one's 114. So we are certainly getting closer into the more hundreds as we continue to have these sessions and have important conversations around the outdoor industry and the broader sector on what's actually going on, and make sure that we provide the best information for our members going forward. But firstly, may I acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands we all meet today and pay my respects to elders past and present, and hope that we continue to engage in the understanding that they have on our land, and we bring that to the experience of all of our participants. And see the richness of what they have understood for thousands and thousands of years previous to us. Okay, as I say, today's going to be a lot about the National Outdoor Education Conference. If you haven't heard those words, where have you been? It has been a journey and a half. It's been over 1,190 days in the planning. Can you believe it? So we've had it on, then we had it off. Thanks to COVID. Then we had it back on, and then we had it off again. We did have a precursor event in 2021, which was a really good opportunity to at least get some of the content that we're hoping to share with you in that time frame on an online version. But now we have our face-to-face, and it's hard to believe that we're only 3 days away from seeing each other in person. We might have to walk into the room with our arms like this so we recognise people, because we don't know they have bodies below their waist. But needless to say, it will be a great opportunity to reconnect with everyone and and see how everyone's doing. But a huge thank you to everyone who stood behind this event for such a long time. We have had registrations on this event since 2019. So for those that have hung in there and not requested a refund, thank you for starters. But thank you all to our supporters, our sponsors, our exhibitors, who are really, without them, serious when I say this, without them we would not have been able to continue. It was a very costly process in the cancellations and rebooking of this event. So as I say, without their support, we would not be even talking about this today. So thank you everyone, and particularly to our platinum partner, Wilderness Equipment, who've gone over and above. Okay, so a couple of things for those that are coming to the National Outdoor Education Conference, and apologies to those that aren't, but if you wouldn't mind just bearing with me as we go through these. For pre-arrival, just a reminder that we are trying to make this as environmentally friendly as possible as an event. Needless to say, there is going to be a need for some plastics and a lot of paper, but we are being very vigilant in the recycling of those items. So we encourage you, if you do not want any of your conference items during or after the event, please use the recycling that will be available to you at the conference to make sure that the waste is treated in the best way possible. Also bring your own water bottle so that you can just fill it up as you go. You will be provided with your own, and if you can see me, your own little mug so you can have your own coffee in a recyclable container. Get the app. My goodness, the conversations on this I'll share with you in just a minute, but if you haven't been on the app already, you have to try to catch up with David Gregory and Brian Leachy, who have just scored high on the leaderboard. Well done, David. Yeah, there's a lot of conversations, a lot of questions, a lot of great ideas already happening. So, wow, I didn't expect that the conference would be starting this early, but it has via the app. And share your journey to Noec. There's a lot that are coming from right around the whole country. So we'd love to see your journey as you come to the conference, and share those images and pics with us and that experience as well. The dress code, I've been asked this a couple of times now. We want you to be casual. We find that the best learners come from those that are in a casual and comfortable environment. So please come just in your smart casual gear. But we do encourage you at the awards. You've only got a very short time to get ready to board the buses on the Tuesday for the awards. But at the awards, obviously, we're going to be seeing finalists from each state and territory across Australia. So If you have a little bit of gear that you want to support your state or your territory, please bring that along, because we'd love to see some camaraderie in supporting your own state and territory in those awards. So whether it's a touch of blue for New South Wales or whatever, a Blues jersey, Perth, whatever, you know, just please come with something that shows your support for your state. The activity day, today is the last day that you can book in for a lot of the activities. So please, if you haven't booked for your activity day on Thursday, please jump in and do so, as well as the pre-conference workshops. These will close off today. So if you haven't booked in, the first one, Dr. Claire Dallett's session, is fully booked. There are places for the nature play and also Mark Collard's session. So if you want to jump into either one of those, I stress to get in before midday today to ensure that you do not miss out. The app, here is the snapshot of the app. So if you haven't seen this, it's an incredible tool, and like I say, there's a lot of conversations going on, a lot of opportunities to meet up with Duke of Edinburgh teachers. There's also, as you can see there, two-wheel fun happening, bushwalking happening, organised groups right across all of the attendees. You can see everyone attending, you can see all the exhibitors, and certainly ask questions to the speakers on their topics. So if you're a speaker, jump in, because my goodness, the questions in there, I think one session's got something like 8 questions already. So great to see the engagement and requests around the topics and what we're going to be showcasing at Noec. So yeah, as I say, jump in there. There you go. You can see as of this morning, there was 24 questions for some of the sessions. So incredible engagement. Okay, so when you arrive, what's going to happen? Monday the 26th, so registration is from 12. That's obviously if you're attending the pre-conference workshops, get in at 12. That way you'll be at the pre-conference workshops by 12:30. But anyone who is attending the conference can register from that time. And you just come outside the ballroom. The ballroom is on the lower level of the Fairmont Resort in Lura. So when you come through the main entry, that's the reception level, you go down to the restaurant and turn right. That's where the ballroom will be. And we have our registration desk just outside there. Afternoon tea will be served at 3 for a prompt beginning of the conference at 3:30. Now, the weather forecast looks amazing. So on Monday afternoon, after we finish, we'll be going straight into the cocktail party, which will overlook the Jamison Valley. And it's going to be fine, but it might be a little bit chilly, particularly for our northern folk. So keep in mind to bring that jacket if you certainly feel the cold. I think it's going to be down to 9 degrees when we head out there. So yeah, come prepared. So Tuesday, the exhibition area will be open from 7:30 a.m. and we'll commence the conference for the first full day at 8:30 a.m. And that will be very promptly at 8:30. We have a jam-packed day ready for you. As I said, the short change that you'll need between the end of the conference and the dinner, we're encouraging everyone to be out ready to board the buses at 5 o'clock for departure at 5:15. Now, if you are staying in Katoomba and not in Lura, there is an additional stop by the buses outside the Carrington Hotel. So it might be easy for some of you that are staying in Katoomba to, after the conference finishes at 4:30, jump in the car, go and park at your accommodation, and the buses will pick you up around about 5:30 from the Carrington Hotel. So we'll check all this with you on registration as well. The dinner is at the Hydro. Sorry, I jumped too quickly. The dinner is at the Hydro Majestic Hotel in Medlow, Bath. And that will be until around 9:30 when the buses will be bringing you back to your accommodation. Again, stopping at either Katoomba or the Fairmont as its final destination. On Wednesday, We have an optional climate change workshop on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. So that is where we're going to be working with the retailers on some of the ideas around what we need changed or adaptation or just anything regarding equipment and apparel and what we need for the future. And then we start the conference at 8:30. The Outdoor Education Awards, that's the individual awards, the ones where people will be recognised for their contribution over the last year. They will be announced from 4:30 p.m. and the conference will close at 5:15. That night, there is no dinner organised. So please, if you are staying in Lura, make sure you make arrangements for your dinner that evening. Like us, the hospitality industry in the Blue Mountains is quite short-staffed. So to avoid disappointment, I suggest you certainly lock in a reservation at your chosen restaurant or cafe of choice. Then, of course, we have the Thursday activity day for those that are staying on. And depending on the one you choose, certainly will have its own arrangements, and they'll be notifying you where you need to meet and where you need to be at what time. And then we bid everyone farewell for another year. So the next conference will be in 2 years' time, and we'll be announcing where that's going to be at the conference. And then post-conference, we will be supplying all of the content to everyone who has registered and paid for an attendee. So that will include not only the PowerPoint presentations that are going to be shared, but also the concurrent sessions. You have up to 6 options at most times. And that means that it's very hard to decide which session to go to. So as an added benefit, we're going to be recording on audio the actual sessions in each room. That means that if there's 2 that you wanted to go to, you can certainly download the audio of the second one and view that post-conference. So that will be on our portal, which is set up and ready to go to support you in gaining access to as much content as you can. Okay, off Noec now, unless anyone's got any questions, but we can certainly come back to that if you think of something in the meantime. But the Board of Directors for Outdoors New South Wales and ACT Limited is now open. They do close on Monday, the 17th of October. So if you are wanting to look at a board position and get more involved in the strategy of the outdoors with our organisation, we encourage you to apply. You can do so via that link. You must be a member to be nominated, and that is because the only nominations that are up for voting and options are the ones that are membership driven. So please jump in there if you are interested. And a reminder to everyone about the masterclass. This is on the 24th and 25th of November. It's hard to talk about another event when we haven't even had Noec yet, but this is going to be a different type of event. This is a masterclass where we get down and deep into some of the issues and challenges. And as a group, we look at some of the potential opportunities that come out of it. We'll also be presenting our latest research on camps and schools, as well as doing a bit in the mental health space, training the trainer, if you like, in mental health first aid, and yeah, lots more. So please, if you're a member, you do get your first ticket free, and then your second and third ticket are heavily discounted. So make that change to come along. Register for it as soon as you can, and a big thanks to our sponsors. And we've just had also the Small Business Commissioner's Office come on board and support this as well. So thanks to them, thanks to Destination New South Wales, Paddy Palin, and of course the Mollymoor Golf Club, who's hosting our welcome function on the night of the 23rd. So yep, register if you haven't already. Okay, so today's topic, I just wanted to throw around to everyone. What are the top 3 priorities for change that would help you in your current situation, your activity? it is something that I'm continually doing a refresh and seeing what the pulse is in the industry, but I'm really keen to hear from everyone around what they would see as their top 3 priorities for change right now. Are they different? Are they moving in a different direction? What do you see for future challenges as well? So on that note, I'm going to be quiet and open up to the floor and ask for any questions or any answers to that question.
Well, I reckon it's the same thing that I noticed when I joined the industry in 1985 or something, and that's a level playing field around standards, group sizes, safety, organisations getting advantages over other organisations, but particularly around the ability to be safe, and to be competitive in a safe way, and to and to have that resilience to that provides the resilience to move on.
So, and in the safety aspect, Dave, can I dig a little bit deeper on that? Are you saying just something like adherence to the AAAS, you're just not seeing that, or what's your...
Well, as I've sort of discussed with you and others, adherence to the AAAS currently doesn't actually mean anything, because there's no definition of what compliance means. In Victoria, we're supposed to have best practice around the AAS. That's what the minister wants, but really all that means you might have read the damn thing. You don't actually, there's no clarity about having to comply with leader ratios, group sizes, equipment. Some stuff is must-dos, but most stuff is should-dos, and I think should-dos should be mandatory. Except where all operators and a land manager agree that in a certain location the thing can be adjusted. We need some system. Otherwise, people just do whatever they want to do and what they've always done.
Okay, great. So that's your top 1. Do you have 2 and 3, or are they combined into that one?
Number two, I think we need to relook at our outdoor education, school camps, the thing that students do. I mean, I'm wondering, for instance, whether we should be changing outdoor education to education outdoors, with a core component of environment and those key environment conservation and stuff, but particularly in early childhood and primary school. There's not a lot of money in that area, perhaps, but that's where we can actually make the change. And outdoor education is a subject for a small number of people, whereas we really need to be getting everybody out in some way. I'm not saying a name change is the only way to do it, but it's certainly an option.
Yep, absolutely. I love that that thought of education outdoors versus outdoor education. It does really change things around quite substantially. In preparation for Noec this week, I released a media release calling for the government's response to embedding more outdoor education in government schools, because what we're seeing and certainly experiencing is it's the private schools that tend to benefit the most, because they're the ones that offer it. So trying to get it a little bit more into the system of government schools, I think is incredibly important, and it might be just changing those words around that would help that. But yeah, keen to hear other people's perspectives on that.
And my third thing would be, as all the way back to the 1980s, is how do we bring all of the various stakeholders and parties together around decision making at high level, at strategic level, at state and federal, so that rather than a land manager or an organisation making a decision without thinking of the implications across a whole range of other areas, as happens all the time, where we would, a group of the right people would sit round the table and consider the change, the strategic directions, in a broader sense, and by providing all the information that's actually needed to be considered. Currently, people don't do that. They live within their silos.
Yep. I think it's something that I certainly noticed very early on when I started. So I hear what you're saying about the 80s, but it's certainly in the last 2 years, it's still there. But yeah, we need to get that better. Great. Thanks, Dave. Anyone else? Any comments on anything Dave said as well?
Sure. Yeah, I reckon building the evidence base around the benefits of outdoor activities so that we've got the data on how to drive the industry forward. And I guess another part which sort of goes on from what Dave was talking about you know, the different stakeholders in the industry, but describing what the industry is built of. So I feel like there's a lot of ambiguity about what the industry is and what it means. And I guess I feel like outdoor education, it's also experiential education, which I think is a massive part of it. And that's not necessarily outdoors. That can be indoors, outdoors, whatever. So I think sometimes even that outdoors bit limits it a little bit, because I feel like experiential education is where it, you know, is what we really want to kind of look for as an industry. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, thank you. No, that's really good points.
I'd agree with both Helen and David on that, and I think that's really critical for the industry is to what schools tend to do, and we've got this massive thing about schools saying, "Oh, we're all overburdened with work," and I think they're all overburdened with busyness because they can't work out how to actually create an efficient organisation, having worked for many of them and seen the same things happening over and over again. And what they do is then they lump another thing on top and another thing on top and on top of that. But I think embedding that experiential education into the program, be it outdoors or be it STEM or STEAM, it's not an add-on. It's actually how people learn. And it's how they fundamentally learn, regardless of whether they're academic or whether they're going to go into a trade or whatever. And I think this is really where we have such a powerful point of difference for the value that we can add to education around how do we fundamentally shift and improve education. And I think from what Helen and David said on this already, this is where our opportunity is, and I think it's a really important one that we can support schools and the education department, because once we get the education department on board, and we do need it in state schools,
yes,
and very much so. And I think it's really commendable. I know you put a lot of work into getting the outdoor education part of the curriculum going, and looking forward to hearing about that at the conference. But I think we can take it further, and this is the first step in something that we can really build as an industry.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Jeffrey?
Well, look, I guess for me, my personal perspective is about the education of leaders in the outdoors, and that's regardless of what sector we're talking about. Now, I already think we're doing a lot of good stuff in that space. There's a long way to go, no argument, but I think we're doing a lot of good stuff in that space. So does that become number one priority? Probably not for me, because we've got a lot happening, and therefore I can see the positive happening in that space. Yeah. So the number one priority for me relates more to standards, AAAS, and things around AAAS. Some of that is about adoption of, some of that is about review of, some of that is about engaging with other standards that are out there. But I actually think it's the number one priority is actually really around standards. I really like what Helen said about experiential education, and that ties into David's support of it. But at the same time, I go, but we need to keep our focus outdoors. Now, I'm a big believer in experiential education. It is my focus. It's the way I do things. But that's whether we're talking creative industries or we're talking outdoor. Yeah, I believe in the experiential part. But you open it up too much, then we are dealing with experiential education. As David said, we're talking apprenticeships and traineeships. We're talking internships. It's all experience related to education. So we still need a focus that is relevant to our sector, which is outdoors. I do like the education outdoors. Now, is it just a change of words to make things different and change things around? Yeah, potentially, but it is potentially capturing more of, we talk about the young kids who are participating in outdoor settings and learning in outdoor settings. That's not outdoor education, because outdoor education is seen as that school camp type of thing. Scouts isn't outdoor education. Even though they spend a lot of time using the outdoors to supplement that non-formal education. So it's how we've come to view outdoor education excludes a lot of education that occurs in the outdoors.
And I think that's to Dave's point. It's sort of saying, right, well, there's lots of other opportunities that we can get them into the space so that the benefits of that, whatever they're learning, is enhanced.
But I'm also really mindful that the education focus, and it still occurs in this space, but education focus then almost alienates the tour operators.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying education doesn't occur in the tourism space, but if you are running a tour for the sake of the experience in the outdoors, yes, people still learn stuff. But the education focus can alienate that tourism side.
Rob said,
No,
Great.
Yeah, completely agree on that point. And my frustration with my teachers over the years is you could do a really good activity with, say, a tourist operator, and the teacher had the opportunity to debrief or provide a reflection on that, and they just didn't. And so that's a fundamental flaw in education. But the two can sit really well together, because you can do activities for the sake of the activity, and that's okay. That it doesn't always have to be tied back into how does that make you feel, or anything like that.
What did you learn?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess also the possibility of including like cultural education and that sort of thing as part of experiential education or outdoor education or whatever, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. And that's not necessarily indoors or outdoors. I guess maybe, back to what a few people said earlier, just defining really quite precisely what the different areas and the stakeholders belonging to those areas are. And then, we can kind of go forward with all the different ideas, because there's so many. I think that's the problem. There's so many different approaches and ideas and ways of doing this.
So true. Dave?
There's two things. I mean, the tourism operator, in Victoria, the majority of non-school run outdoor education that's formal, based around the subject, not just going to a camp, is actually done by tourism operators anyway. Who do everything and do everything exactly the same way, regardless. So it's all about, as David said, it's all about how you use the outcomes from the thing. I'd like to throw something else in, that we were talking about, the mention about our outdoor leaders. Hugh Ward put up the other day that if our outdoor leadership training is actually only activity training anyway. Yeah, they're really guides. Should we be calling our general mix of people that take people out something else, and concentrating on leadership with that really top group of people with actual leadership characteristics who can be the core leaders across the industry at all levels, but more in the main operational and stuff. The majority of the people that take groups out aren't actually leaders. If something went wrong, most of the group would run away. Well, I would anyway.
Well, that's a good point, though. What's the difference between a guide and a leader?
Well, in my case, I think leaders are those rare people that you will follow anywhere, in a sense, right? Which is my joke about people running away. So in a short activity, if you're with somebody that's built the trust and you feel this person is amazing, even though you've only been with a little while, if something goes wrong, you'll follow them and you'll listen to them, Whereas if it's someone that you're going, not sure about, these people actually know what they're doing, the individual is going to panic and go, I'm going to look after myself, and the team breaks down. So a leader is someone that in all environments can keep the team together. I think it's a bit indefinable, and I maybe didn't explain it particularly well, but I would reckon we're talking about maybe at most 10% of the people that lead groups in the field.
Jeffrey, you got a thought on that because of the accreditations or quals?
Look, we all know words are powerful. We had lots of discussions over the years around guides, leaders, instructors, all these different facilitators, teachers, educators, all these different words that often relate but say different things. A lot of our people who are providing support for clients, students, etc., in the outdoors are providing a level of leadership for that activity. Are they necessarily a leader themselves? Not necessarily. They're following clearly defined, this is the program you will run, this is the criteria, these are our policies, here's how we do it here, you do it the same way every time. They're providing leadership for that activity at that time with that group. Does that make the individual a leader? No, not necessarily. But they are providing leadership for a group for that activity. So do we then have leaders in the outdoors? Yes, we do. And we've got some people who are out there in the outdoors far more than me at the moment, who I would follow in the outdoors as a leader. Are they necessarily also providing leadership in the industry? No, they're too interested in being out there doing and leading those activities. Great, fantastic. And they're great at it.
What qualities would you say a leader should have?
Look, in the outdoors, one of our biggest things is our management of risk. Now, Margot raised it in the chat a moment ago. One of our greatest risks when we're in the outdoors relates to the climate, the weather, because when it changes, that's when things go a little crazy. And it can be minor changes for things to go a little crazy with a group that's unprepared. So we've got it is our
nice little
area of concern.
And Margot, thanks for your comment, because I'm getting a group of experts, if you can call them that, I'm sure we can, on lightning and storms, to come and deliver a special forum for our industry on the current status on research around the world. It won't happen overnight, but it's going to happen. Let me just get through Noec first. But there is some good conversations being had in various networks around this. So it's an important topic, and Dave, you might want to raise it now, but Dave sent me an email just around, okay, well, how do we manage this? Because every time there is a warning, you know, to take the conservative approach, you would cancel or postpone or reschedule. But what's the cost of that? And then if the storm doesn't happen, I have to then go on the reverse and say, okay, what if you didn't do it and the storm did happen? And what does that mean for WorkSafe and obligations? So it is an incredible area that needs to be explored a little bit more. So I'm hoping as the peak body to bring you all of that content so that you can make your own informed choice about how you manage your own programs. Dave, was that what you were going to say, or was there something else?
Well, it's actually a mix of a number of things. You know, the weather, leadership, programs, compliance. What I'm noticing in Victoria, and other places where people post things on social media, is most people are not changing their programs and adjusting to the weather conditions, the high water and other stuff.
Right.
They're often organisations that already were exceeding what was considered to be safe as far as leader ratios, less leaders, competency, group sizes, and they're still out there and the water level is a metre higher, and the rapids, and they're saying, isn't it amazing, we've got waterfalls and wall-to-wall rapids all down the river. And I'm going, that's not fun, that's death waiting to happen. So we've got to teach organisational flexibility. We've got to be able to change, make things smaller, do things differently, which means we've probably got to charge more as one part of that. Because if we're already on such a 5% profit margin or something horrible, you can't change. That's why they're not changing. They're already breaking the rules to make money. They can't change because they're going to lose money. So there's a lot of components that stop us from making the right decisions as an industry or as an organisation.
Really good point. Margot, did you want to say anything around your comment on the climate?
Not really. It's probably not here right now, but that's probably when you just sort of said top priorities.
Yeah, great.
That's one of the biggest issues that we're just constantly doing. You know, we're changing everything from the type of accommodation we're providing people. It's just huge, the whole issue of climate and weather right now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. To Rob's point, he put in the chat around what outdoor peak bodies should be tasked with. I'll challenge that, Rob.
Will I?
I certainly see your point around getting it embedded in schools, but that's just not it. That's not the whole opportunity of the outdoors. I'll tell you what I see us doing, and then please I'll ask everyone for their own comment. Peak bodies should be there to represent an industry and inform, create change for better condition, and navigate any potential future challenges that the industry would encompass. We would do that through our research, through connections, stakeholders, engagement. Just yesterday, I met with the Australian ambassador for the United States of America. It's those hard-hitting conversations that create opportunity for the industry and try to prevent issues, but also conquer issues at the same time. I'll leave it there and open it up.
I was just going to comment on just, I guess, offering a diversity of experience for a diverse population and diverse landscapes, diverse weather, diverse leadership ability, with the ultimate goal being kind of health, well-being and connection.
Yeah, absolutely. We're quite a diverse.
So,
To use your
And
word.
by kind of putting it into a box, it limits it.
Yeah.
But also we do need to define all those different kind of diverse areas.
Mm. And I think it's helping businesses and organisations understand where some of the opportunities may lie that they may not have tapped into before, like active outdoor kids, for example. Yeah.
That's a very diverse population from your standard private school kids.
Yes. Yeah.
Outdoor ed style. Yeah.
Again, happy to be challenged too on any of this. And anyone want to jump in?
Well, I'm a severe pessimist today. I mean,
Rob, we've got to get that out of you. Okay.
no, like literally, I gave up a month ago, really. But your comment about you've got an industry, for clarity, I'm a small outdoor recreation business, right? And I haven't been in the industry very long, but I'm a business person. If you're going to run a business or you're going to try and get multiple thousands of businesses to get this industry up and running, or to make it stronger, you've got to help them function to be supportive of the whole industry. I don't think you've got an industry. It's ad hoc. It's not, I mean, you've got big players, you've got small players. 9 out of the 10 outdoor recreation businesses in my little area in the last 2 years have gone broke. There's things like Paddle New South Wales don't know that our local canoe club have folded 4 years ago. They will not. No, the Mile Classic I went to last weekend, they've given up running it and they've said we don't want to do it anymore. And some club in Sydney had to take it on as a charity case to keep it going because they started it and they want to keep going. So back to, I mean, the industry, you've got fringe. Well, something popped to mind. I mean, if you want everything to flourish, you've got to get to a situation where outdoor recreation and education, and I know you've been working on it, but if it's like, if you want all your citizens to ride bikes to work, you've got to make an effort to that be the core thing that you do, not what type of bike it is, what helmet they have to wear and all that sort of thing. And when you talk about talking to people like ambassadors and things, my experience in bureaucracy is that Crown lands, they'll tell you what they want you to hear, and then they'll go away and you have no muscle, you have no interlinking network to, the only thing in council here in this area that will get anything happening is 1,000 people writing to them on one topic for a playground or a pool or something. So if 1,000 people go to them individually, and I know this for a fact, they'll fob them off and they'll get away with it. So there's, unless you start with a core goal, meaning to get outdoor education, you've got outdoor education in private schools and it's going gangbusters, but they can pay for it, but the rest of them are missing out. So unless you get that mass, then people, it's like TAFE in the news, they were just striking. The TAFE teachers said they were down from 70,000 teachers 10 years ago to less than 40,000 now. And the bureaucracy have gutted all the workshops, all sorts of topics, as well as outdoor recreation. But you've got to, I think you've got to focus on getting back into the mainstream before you start dealing with all these, bring your own bottle to the conference, or, try and reduce plastics. It's something that businesses can't necessarily stomach, as David says, as Jeffrey says. If you're trying to run a business, you can't deal with 1,000 things. You've got to, if you want to even survive, you've just got to be able to get on and do it. So I don't know, I'm lost to it really, because there's too much involved, there's too much fragmentation, bureaucracy hasn't helped. I mean, things like, here's a topic, national parks in New South Wales have determined that they're going to give back every single national park to the Indigenous people within 20 years. Now that's that's just a total negative to the 97% of other Australians that will probably get access. But, you know, look at the Grampians. So there's topics there that if you don't concentrate or you don't pick the top targets, you're going to lose out in the end. And mainstreaming is one of them. If you don't get some sort of 1,000 people writing to the same person about the same topic, you'll always get fragmented, and it'll never become. And the business people like myself, or the OEGs or whatever they're called, that want to invest the money, they'll just take the path of least resistance, and I'll go off and be an engineer again, rather than, you know, an outdoor education provider, not an outdoor recreation provider in this area, even though we've got arguably the best waterway system between Tea Gardens and Port Macquarie here in the country.
Yeah.
And no one's doing anything about it. And no government, no Crown Lands taking all the wharfs back from independent individual owners. Council are broke, and they won't do anything unless the government pays for it. And national parks are recalcitrant. I mean, the list goes on with people that are, well, they're bureaucrats that me as an individual can't knock through unless you get a politician to stamp their feet, and then there's something happen. But I don't know. There you go. There's my rant for the day. But it's
Thanks, Rob. Look, I think what you've just summed up, I think, is backing what I just said, is that unless we are aware of these issues, we can't do anything about them. And I must say, half of what you've just mentioned there, I've had no one approach me on. So it's very hard to advocate for things and change if no one's coming to me saying this needs to change. That being said, you know, I can't say to a business that you must continue in this industry, or you must look at this target market, or you must do this, you must do that. I'm here to provide as much education, knowledge, information to our industry so that they make their own informed choice. And if it is going for you, you know, to go and do an engineer's role or something different, you know, that is your choice. I think, like the AMA, like any peak body, any association, we are there to support the general needs of the whole sector, and try to carve a way through that provides the best conditions for everyone. Now, you know, whether it's national parks, whether it's Crown Land or whatever, you know, I'm having conversations with those guys a lot. And again, if I don't know the issues, it's very hard for me to bring them up. So, yeah, but thank you for jumping in. Dave, you had a comment?
Yeah, I mean, that was my second, important thing, which is that level playing field. Everyone that operates, whether they're a business, a club, or an organisation, should have the same rules and systems, and identifying and removing the key barriers, particularly to the fee-for-service people, so that we do have businesses. And I mean, this has been an ongoing thing since I joined this industry 40-odd years ago. I think it is solvable. It's a matter of getting everyone in the bloody tent at the operational level. And I think we're making steps towards that. We're going to hurt some people along, or we're going to upset some people along the way. About time we did.
Look, and that comes with change. You know, you can't please everyone, but what you've got to do is try to please the most, and that's the aim. Jeff?
I just coming back to just listening to and coming back to that. As I said, I think we're doing a lot within the education space, the training and educational leaders. The AAAS is there, and I think our mix of policies, practices, and education make a difference. Where we have incidents and that ends up causing questions, concerns, doubts, and changes in access and legislation, tends to relate to our practices around weather events. So, which relates to Dave's comment, relates to Margot's comment around climate and weather. When things change and we don't necessarily change to suit, things can occur. And so it is probably our biggest risk area. But to build off what Rob was saying, I made the comment earlier that I think we need to be mindful that our focus is outdoors. So therefore, what's our biggest issue that we constantly need to be aware of? Is it our biggest issue at the moment? I don't know, but we constantly need to be aware of is access to outdoor places.
Absolutely. I think the ongoing challenge, and you might have seen this, geez, when was it? Sunday. Yes, Sunday. So as you know, we've got a trail bike committee. We've written a white paper, we've written a discussion paper. We've now got a hearing in Parliament on the 10th of October. And it is about that landlock. It's about, you know, stopping the access that these guys have had for substantial years. And certainly things like the Gardens of Stone, which has been a mecca for all activity, is now, because of different policies coming in, it's constricting that. That doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help the trail bike community, but it doesn't help anyone, because then if they do that to that activity, what are they going to do next? So Sunday, you might have seen on the news that a group of trail bike riders turned up at Parliament to get the message across through a media release that we helped them with. So I think it's really important that we combine, and I hear what everyone's saying about the silos. They still do exist. We're getting better, but we've got to combine that voice. And like Dave said, that lovely expression, get them into the tent. You know, we've got to get the whole industry, the broader sector, into the one tent, because we're all advocating for the same thing, but we're saying it in different languages, and that's why no one's hearing. So the more we get it together, the more we get it into the language that is being heard, we're going to have better results. But it's going to not happen overnight, I can tell you. But yeah, the more we can get people involved in Outdoors New South Wales ACT or their relevant state and territory authority, then we can have that combined voice. That's why AMA are the ones, you know, the Australian Medical Association, the ones that are on the TV talking about doctors' issues. You know, it's a very similar thing. We've just got to get better at combining that voice and jumping into the same position. I'll get off my high horse now. Any other comment? Or oh my goodness, I thought it was going to be a half-hour session this morning, but this has been great. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much. I have got a great list here, which is adding to my strategy board every time I have these conversations. And any other thoughts, I really encourage anyone to drop me a line. Rob, any of those issues, flick them through. I hear what you're saying about the top priorities for you is the outdoor education. I don't disagree with that. I think that is something that we are working on, and we are certainly trying to get a better condition in government schools. TAFE is a challenge, and needless to say, the Skills Summit pinpointed that as well. Commercial RTOs is certainly being up there, and they're coming in spades compared to some of the TAFE offerings, but you know, interesting to see where that heads. And Jeffrey, that might be a conversation for another time on the benefits of commercial RTOs versus government funded. Anyway, on that note, I might bid thee farewell and see you all in exactly 3 days in an hour. So we'll see you all then. Fabulous. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
What about tonight?